Oh. What's up, chat? BB is doing bisexual eye candy now. I don't know why you would think that, unless you're like fucking gay. Am I right? Normal, straight, no homo men would see these muscular male bodies and think nothing other than a sense of pride at a fellow man for achieving a great pump. It's only if you yourself are gay in which you would think this perfectly heterosexual depiction of a male body is somehow attractive or sexual. Did someone say gay? Always. Once again, the BB stream Don't Talk About Gay Sex Challenge has failed approximately 5 seconds into the beginning of the stream, so We're not doing very well on that challenge, guys. This is the 158th consecutive episode in which we failed the Don't Talk About Gay Sex challenge. You combine that with the Don't Talk About how much I hate women challenge, and it might be that I'm sending some kind of subliminal messaging here. Perhaps there's something I want to tell you guys. Haha, just kidding. I'm incredibly straight. Human bodies are sensual. What do you want me to do? Why are we so bad at this? I mean, this is a long tradition among artists that goes back to Renaissance times, or even like Greek artist times, in which they're talking about how very small male penises are more aesthetically pleasing than, you know, large dicks and stuff like that, or how the male body is like infinitely more beautiful than the female body or whatever. So it's just, this is where the circles, it runs in these kinds of circles, guys. We can't escape it. No woman hating yet? Yeah, technically not. Speaking of no woman hating yet, have you heard about how fucking awful women are? Am I right, fellow men? Haha. At least the incels, when they hate women, are like, I hate women so much because they owe me sex. So technically they don't really hate women. It's just sour grapes. The incels and like men going their own way movement is the most fucking sour grapes movement of all time. Women suck so bad. I hate them so much. That's why I'm gonna talk about them all day on my Reddit message board, because I don't care about women at all. Why is your mic quality so bad? It shouldn't be bad. This is the same mic as always. Let me unplug it and... Maybe it's not on. Is the sound quality better? Your mic seems fair to me. This is the problem with actually reading chat for any Twitch streamer. There's always going to be like one guy who is going to tell you to do the incorrect thing, or being like, oh, something's wrong with my stream. Does everyone have the same bitrate problems? And everyone else is like, that's your computer, bro. As a real cell yourself, how do you feel about femcells? There are no femcells who truly cannot attract a male. They're just being picky about what they want. A lot of the male incels are also just being picky, but especially in the case of females. But that's their prerogative. Prerogative? Is that the right word? Because, just biologically speaking, the female is taking on most of the risk of the mating process. The combination of pregnancy and, like, you know, getting stuck with the kid, so... Women have to be way more choosy on their partners than men who just want to come and then leave, so... This is why, no matter how much, like, society progresses, if you get on a dating service, there's gonna be, like, way more men on it than women. There's a lot of women who can live without a man, despite us memeing on feminists who claim they don't want a man and then, like, you know, get married or whatever. But every guy needs to ejaculate, so... Why can't some tech bro finally turn mpreg into a real thing? The reason is because the tech bros are generally billionaires, so they can use that money to obtain females. So unless they're gay, which isn't exactly that weird, I think like a lot of the tech bros are actually gay. They don't really have as much motivation to make male preg a thing. Also, you might not have heard, but men don't have wombs. So, yeah, it's kind of difficult to grow another organ. We could try and put babies in our asshole. The colon baby, as we like to call them. But I'm not sure how successful that would be. Arnie has proved otherwise. I was in a period of my life when I was like, I'm gonna watch a lot of bad movies. This was like when I was 13 or something. I was being what's the word? Contrarian. So I was like, I'm gonna watch bad movies on purpose, movies that I don't like. In retrospect, it was good, a good practice for me thinking about what makes a good movie and a bad movie and stuff like that. It trained me in various, you know, learning about storytelling and how to make a good story. And during that period I watched, what was it, Junior? Arnold Gets Pregnant movie, but I wasn't able to finish it, which isn't that uncommon for me nowadays, but back in the day I tried to finish all the movies I started watching, so I believe it was a particularly painful experience for me when I was around 12 or something. I remember I watched the Mariah Carey, not necessarily biopic, but like semi-non-fiction inspirational story of her back when Mariah Carey was somebody other than the person who shows up once a year to sing the Christmas song. And it was extremely painful. Jingle All the Way was also terrible. I mean, it's not terrible from a children's movie perspective, though. If, like, you're a literal kid, that shit is incredibly funny. I would say that Jingle All the Way is fine, actually. Because it's a children's movie and children will enjoy it. I remember watching it as a child and enjoying it. I think it was Glitter. Yeah, I think we have a lot of Jingle All the Way defenders in chat. Petty adults trying to impress children is one of my favorite tropes. I wonder if there is any kind of, like, toy fighting in the modern era. Because that feels like an entire culture that no longer exists. The Zoomers don't understand back in the day when we still had Toys R Us stores. When you still had to go to, like, physical retail stores and fight over merchandise. It was a different time. Very much different time. You all remember Build-A-Bear? There was no Build-A-Bears in my area. I thought don't they still exist? I think Build-A-Bear hasn't gone bankrupt yet, right? There were no Build-A-Bears in my area. Sad, really. They still exist? Yeah. It's Toys R Us that has gone out of business entirely. But I assume that adults of this day and age, they don't have to go to the toy store to fight over shit. They just can order shit online. They rely solely off adult collectors, to be honest. Lots of fandom stuff. Wait, is there like Build-A-Bear, like build an R2-D2 or some shit like that? Is that what you're talking about? Like Harry Potter themed Build-A-Bears and stuff? Because if it is, that would be like the full completion of the arc of adults being adult man-children. Pokemon Build-A-Bear? God damn it. See, now I'm gonna have to look it up. Build-A-Bear Pokemon. Oh shit, it's real. Yes, Harry Potter 2, LMAO. Pokemon Quaxley plush bundle. $60. What the fuck? Pokemon giant size Gengar plush bundle, $149 fucking dollars. This is insane if you think about it. They're taking what they force Chinese factory slave workers to do for like 5 cents an hour. I guess it's not in China anymore because China's become like a quasi first world country or more like second world country. So a lot of the manufacturing has probably moved to Bangladesh. So the Bangladeshi sweatshop workers getting paid like 6 cents an hour to make this shit. And in America, they've convinced, we have an entire corporation that has convinced children, but more likely the children's parents, to go to this location and like make their own fucking stuffed animal and then pay like $150 for this shit. I don't understand how Build-A-Bear works, but part of it is you making it yourself, right? It's not you just like you inputting the exact shit that you want and then like someone makes it all for you. Don't you like do some of the stuff yourself? Because if you do some of your stuff yourself, you're basically doing like the sweatshop worker experience but paying for it. China is pretty much like London in the sense that the cities are great, but everywhere else is a polluted hellhole or just wilderness where the tigers live. I think everybody who thinks that like China is just like insert first world country is underestimating China. I think China is like literal third world country if you're not in like the middle of Shanghai. And then all the urban areas that are proper first world countries have been propped up by insane amounts of debt spending by the communist government. And they're about to fucking crash. Like, I think we're all greatly underestimating how underdeveloped China actually is. It's woman who's into plushie hobby. Hong Kong slaps, though. Hong Kong is not really China, guys. Like, come on. That's British territory. Communist with Chinese characteristics. I think a lot of... I think we're all underestimating the degree to which China is basically just the USSR with more capitalist funding. If you're not paying attention, because it's not being covered in official news, but like it seems that there's like some sort of massive Xi Jinping power struggle going on in China right now, but none of it is happening in the open, so proper news outlets aren't allowed to report on it. But there's like all the Communist Party tea leaf people are basically saying that there's like a huge struggle going on internally because Xi Jinping kind of overstepped the amount of political power he had by arresting a bunch of military people, and now the military is in kind of like semi-revolt mode. All in all, it ain't looking great for China. Whatever people think US is at its worst, China is that, but like tenfold. It's especially interesting because Chinese people and American people have very similar mentalities in sort of like the insane levels of individualism and just sort of like, I'm gonna get mine, and the yeah, they're very similar. It probably comes from just like having a very large country. Imagine 200th century homes impaled by utility cables and plastic bags. China punk shit. We don't have to put punk on literally everything, guys. Next, you're gonna call this image right we have here like gay punk or something. This is certainly a way to commemorate Chinese New Year. I forgot it was Chinese New Year. Mandate of Heaven pill. I mean, everybody who was like, the Chinese Communist Party will last forever. It's like, bro, this is part of Chinese history we're talking about. They've been doing the Gundam Endless Waltz theme of, what was it that Trey's said? Trey's was like, history is an endless waltz with the 3 steps of peace, revolution, and war. Once again, Gundam Wing is right about everything. To be fair, I prefer my Chinese spy over my CIA spy. Interesting that you would think you get to choose, when in fact, just by mandatory setup, you just get both. Why not both? That's how it works. Remind them of how many civil wars China has had. China has had a civil war like every 100 to 200 years. When they're lucky, they can go like a solid 500 years before either the northern barbarians invading and raping everybody, or the dynasty becoming too big and cumbersome and the eunuchs getting too much power and then having massive revolution and then everybody gets raped, or everybody, the British pump everybody full of opium and then everybody gets raped. I thought superior Han are destined to rule galaxy. I don't think there's any Han left, guys. I don't really care too much about like genetic makeup, but I don't know how their one drop of blood policy is working, but I have a feeling that Genghis was doing a little bit of the raping as he was going across the continent, so... Which means there's a chance you're going to see a dip in babies this year. I always forget how like incredibly fucking stupid and superstitious Chinese culture is at all times. They had like a baby making spike, what was it, last year or the year before, whatever, because it was like some kind of year of the dragon, blah blah blah. And now are we in one of the cycles where it's like a bad year to have kids? Well, Chinese, like all the other developed countries, don't need any excuse to not have kids. I always like how cute all men are in wuxia when their big emperor was known to be the ugliest mofo on Earth. We don't fantasize about how ugly historical figures are, guys. It ruins everything. Plap, plap, plap. The stars have aligned, babe. Plap, plap, plap. Unfortunately, thanks to one-child policy and parents deciding to murder all their babies if they are female, There are no females to plap, plap, plap in China right now. You think that you have difficulty even though you're a 6'5" Giga Chad looks maxing and you still can't attract a mate? Imagine trying to be a Giga Chad in China where there's 30 million more Giga Chads than you. It turns out that murdering your female babies is not a good policy, but, you know, that's what Confucianism will do to people when they're like, only my son can honor me, and I'm only allowed to have one baby. Time to throw my female baby in the river, LMAO. Chinese dudes with money do the same as Koreans. They go look for women in America or Europe. They can have them. Any female that's dumb enough to marry herself to Chinese princeling when the Chinese economy is crashing is she gets what she deserves. Throw them into the locally designated baby well. If you throw too many of the female babies in the locally designated baby well, you're going to poison your water supply. Don't do that, guys. We have the large rivers for a reason. Just like Korean, which is hilarious. Western capitalism has convinced modern women that there's like some extremely attractive white man out there willing to pay for all their tips and, you know, pamper the shit out of them. Careful now, your Nippon side is showing. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said anything negative about China. Only plus social credits in this stream, guys. China will never have to invade Taiwan because Taiwan already belongs to the glorious People's Republic. They've said so. It's funny how the entire Taiwan invasion is even paradoxical because they've already decided that there's nothing to see here because Taiwan already belongs to China, so technically they don't even have any reason to invade Taiwan. Are you agreeing with the Korean bros about the dick carousel stuff? I mean, I don't live in Korea, so I wouldn't know, but I don't know how bad it is in Korea. It's probably pretty bad. If something is bad in Japan, it's generally worse in Korea. That's one of the general advices that I can give you. And the Japanese female is on the dick carousel, and that's without Japanese men being forced to go and join the army for like a year or 2 years or whatever. So I assume that the dick carousel complaint is probably pretty legit. Everything I learn about Korea just sounds like Asian US. If you think that Korea is just the Asian version of the dystopian hellhole that is America, I think you're underestimating how much of a dystopian hellhole Korea is. America allows for a lot of monopolies to exist and so on, but it's nowhere near on the same tier as Korea, in which it's literally like 3 companies owning everything. In America, there's at least like 7 companies that own everything. And the 7 companies are at least holding companies instead of like the actual company. In Korea, they skip the whole holding company stage and just go straight up to like Samsung and Hyundai and whatever, owning everything. Doesn't Korea have like major problems? it's kind of difficult to even guess who has worse problems, China or Korea. They're competing over the who can have lower birth rates category. Even among all the developed countries that have super low birth rates, Korea is insanely low, but China's like, it's entering that zone, so... Both China and Korea are countries that were like on the route to become first world countries, but it's starting to look like they're just going to sort of miss it by a little bit. And that's often like the worst situation where like shit is expensive and you don't have like manufacturing and stuff where you can ship shit out. But it's not like you've achieved a nice comfy service economy either. I don't know. I'm not a specialist, but I wouldn't want to be living in either country. The level of cosmetic surgery beyond wildest dreams of cyberpunk writers. That's the thing as well. Korea just has like a lot of weird cultural shit that seems to really lend to the feeling that they're actually like a cyberpunk society. Whether it's like the obsession over image and like everybody doing a shit ton of body modifications, cyberpunk style, or whether it's like the accompanying standards are like everything is super superficial. So you have to like own a car and stuff to impress women, blah blah blah. They've somehow successfully melded like all the worst aspects of capitalism with like really bad aspects of traditional Confucian thinking and stuff as well. Funny you speak of companies. Multiple company owners are on the fucking files, messages saying they enjoyed the island and still zero fucking arrest. Oh my god, I love my country so freaking much. Bro, they were just enjoying the complimentary Epstein water slides. You could enjoy Epstein Island in many ways. I'm sure it has a lot of fun activities such as sunbathing, free ice cream, all sorts of fun stuff you can do on Epstein Island without going to the sex dungeon. Are we still talking about this guy, this creep? We're not really talking about Epstein. We're talking about all the people that were just like straight up getting into Epstein's DMs and being like, I heard you have access to 12-year-old sex slaves. Perhaps I can go to your island and enjoy the services? And then, you know, that's not enough evidence to arrest extremely rich person number 578, so they're fine. Though they're doing okay. They're living their best life. Well, maybe not their best life, because if Epstein isn't around, they can't access the 12-year-old sex slave, but they're not in jail, that's for sure. Did you see the Snow White picture, LMAO? Is this an Epstein Snow White picture? The biggest thing that happened was Prince Andrew losing his title. So sad. I can't believe Prince Andrew is gonna die on the street as a homeless man. I hope he'll be okay. Without his title of Crown Prince, he'll be forced to work in the local soup kitchen. Poor guy. There is a girl in Snow White outfit. Of all the Disney outfits to dress up your underage sex slaves in, I would definitely not be choosing Snow White. That's just like a weird choice. Probably one of the least sexy outfits among all the Disney girls. Then an email talking about how he fucked her twice in the outfit. I don't know, man. That's so weird. Matt groaning. I would be surprised if he wasn't here. What was he? Wait, what was he related to? I can't remember which cultural property he was connected to. It's the age that was probably sexy since she's canonically 14. You know who is also canonically 14? Yoko from Gurren Lagann. Oh, the Simpsons guy, right. Yoko Gurren Lagann age. Pre-time skip. Yoko is 14 years old. LMAO. She looks like this when she's 14, guys. Canonically stacked. Sleeping Beauty could also be used. If I ever have a girlfriend, I'm gonna ask her to do Sleeping Beauty roleplay. That way I won't have to deal with her. It's just like, babe, I just need you to close your eyes and, you know, not pay any attention to me while I try and finish. No, this is a Disney movie roleplay. It's not me trying to, you know, not have to engage with you. How old was Kamina? I assume he was a similar age, like in his teens or whatever. That one fairy tale show he made everyone forget about. See, I don't follow The Simpsons in general, so I don't know. I only know about Futurama and Simpsons, and I never really cared about The Simpsons, if we're going to be honest. It was not an important part of my childhood. Just lie there, yep. I especially enjoyed sleep porn back when it was still allowed, because it would completely negate the poor acting of the porn actresses. This was when I was still watching, like, porn that involved real women. If she's completely knocked out or pretending to be knocked out, I don't have to hear the, oh, your dick is so big, oh, I'm coming, blah, 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 that shit, you know? However, I guess the US internet has decided that sleep sex is a form of rape, so they've removed all those videos from Pornhub and stuff. BB has to be the only millennial to not care about The Simpsons. My mother didn't allow for TV viewing, basically, when I was growing up. And I think I'm better off for it. So you cared about Futurama? Futurama was on when I was in college, and I had access to the TV. So I watched more Futurama than I watched The Simpsons. I cared about Simpsons as a kid when it wasn't a million seasons long. Like anything, the thing you liked that was cool and fresh is no longer cool and fresh once it's been going on for a million seasons. And also, now that when the writers weren't replaced with, like, the new generation of writers who aren't as smart, This is especially true for comedy, probably. There's very few things that are like comedy based that can survive more than like 10 years of shit. Hi, Unk, you draw breasts very well. Breasts need to be large and heavy. I'm sorry if I offended any, like, of the females in chat. It's just the truth. Depicting breasts, a lot of it is all about depicting the sense of weight. This is probably a foreign concept to some of you who have not very big, thick, fat breasts, but the breast needs to have like a sense of like heaviness. It's a good thing to mock the chestless in chat. Unfortunately, there's no point in trying to compete with 2D. No 3D female can compete with the anti-gravity torpedoes that are possible in 2D females. It's just a futile struggle. You can understand why some IRL women get angry at men watching anime. It really does provide unrealistic beauty standards. That's the real complaint about the whole it shows unrealistic beauty standards for women. It's not about girls like getting bulimia because they're just they're trying to become them. It's just showing something better to men. The female gains power through the male desire for her body. So if there is a alternative superior version, then it's very bad for real life females. Instagram would disagree, those bodies make no sense. That's a good point that you're making there. In our modern era, any female can be 2D now. You just need to have enough Instagram filters, or even not even Instagram filters at this point, like your phone does it automatically for you. It's particularly funny when all the filters that the women are putting on are like warping space and time around them, like they have an anti-gravity field or something. Perfect office siren who's also accessible girl failure who will love you for cup ramen. Also, she's a genius with infinite resources. Yes. She has very low self-esteem though, because there are no men interested in her long, leggy, but also busty body that's also athletic and perfectly toned with perfect skin. No normal man would dare to touch such a loser female with her disgusting F-cup giga breasts. Women don't need anime to get feeding disorders. I mean, it's not the anime that causes it. It's their peers on social media, right? The girls that look at social media and are like, oh, she must have achieved that natty instead of, using 500 filters. Those are the ones that get the eating disorder. Same thing for men, actually. The guys who are like, that man must have achieved that body through a strong routine of eating chicken and broccoli and using $10,000 worth of steroids, and I will too get buff with my eating disorder. And it turns out that guy was also just using Photoshop as well. Plastic surgery maxing. Why get huge, thick, muscular biceps when you could just inject stuff directly into your muscles? I think guys are pretty quick to call out roids and agree that it's unrealistic to look like that. I mean, if you're mentally sane, then you'll agree it's unrealistic to look at that, but not every guy who looks at that shit is mentally sane. A lot of them are like, looks maxing. If you ain't looks maxing, you don't deserve to get any pussy. Women will see another woman eat under 2,000 calories a day and call it a disorder. Yeah, that's the American style. Looks maxing scares me. Is everyone doing their mewing? Their daily mewing routine? I haven't done my mewing yet. Looks maxing is such a fucking stupid term. It's just Zoomer speak, or maybe Gen Alpha speak for something that human beings have been doing literally since the beginning of time, when they were putting lead-based paint onto their face to have whiter skin and then dying from lead poisoning. Wasn't there a thing where, like, they figured out that it was the lead poisoning and the skin whitening cream and shit, and they told women that they should stop doing it, and the women were like, LMAO, don't care. It still looks better. The non-lead based skin powder doesn't look as good. And they kept on using it. Ironic now that we have the opposite, and we have average Florida female going into the tanning booth so they can get skin cancer. Back in the good old days, we were like, look at my porcelain skin. I have never done a single day of labor. I have never held anything heavier than a spoon. Now we're like, look how tanned I am. I'm so tanned and healthy. The lead in their skin cream is what caused sores, which they solved by applying more lead-based skin cream. Damn, the lead-based skin cream business must have been so successful back in the day. Because you could be able to sell more lead poisoning skin cream the more their lead poisoning progressed. What a great business. You see the art piece that one doctor did with all the shaved jawbones? Yeah, this is like a Korean... For those of you who don't know what she's talking about, there was like a Korean plastic surgery office, and because they shaved so many jawbones, they took like the shaved bones and they put them in like a giant glass case, and it went all the way up to the ceiling, I think. It was massive. It had some real JoJo... Kira Yoshikage, fingernails in a bottle kind of energy to it. Korea's fucked up, guys. I think it was Korea. I'm pretty sure it was. I can't imagine a place that wasn't Korea would be like, let me put all the shaved jawbones in a case. I bog orc max and never shave anything besides my face. I think the jawbone shaving is mainly for the girls. No, yeah, it's because girls see the shoujo manga face shape and it's like this. Average shoujo manga be like that. They're like, how can I achieve it? And then like Korean facial structure is like this, basically. Koreans have way stronger square jaws and high cheekbones compared to Japan. Americans like to think that Asians all look the same, but it's actually pretty easy to tell the differences because the Koreans are still attached to the continent, whereas Japan, there's been a lot of race mixing with the Jomon genes. So this is what the average Korean jaw looks like. So they have to like chop all this shit off and so they can make a proper triangle. You gotta look like the boy girls from K-pop, and Koreans do not look like that. Yes. They need extensive plastic surgery to look that way. Even the ones that are pretty close to being to that, if they want to achieve the full boy band look, they have to get shit tons of plastic surgery. So you're saying if Kim Jong went to the gym, he could be a Giga Chad? Yeah, probably. People who gain a lot of weight and get fat also have a tendency to gain more muscle as well. They kind of go together. So the fact that he can gain as much fat as he has in relatively short amount of time, I assume he could gain a lot of muscle if he actually started lifting. He's too busy assassinating people to do that, though. Girl dinner equals energy drink plus cigarettes. I mean, that's a boy dinner nowadays as well. It's not limited to girls anymore. European breakfast is coffee and cigarettes. I had to go to, well, I didn't have to, but I went to Italy for my high school trip. We got to go abroad, and yeah, I was always super hungry in the morning because I still had my like swimmer metabolism going on. Swimmers, like, they need, 7,000 calories a day, and all you would get in the morning, they would just give you like a cup of coffee and like a few bread rolls. but you could get extra bread rolls if you asked for, so I would have to eat like 6 bread rolls before I could have enough energy to keep myself going for the entire day when we would be walking around going to like various churches and shit. All the Renaissance era architecture. Turns out that cigarettes don't actually provide calories. Can anyone tell me why you can't find Winston's in New York City? I had to go to 6 bodegas. What is it with cigarette smokers who need their specific brand? How different can your cancer stick be? You don't actually want a Winston, you just want nicotine. Smokers in chat will be like, Ree, you don't understand. Camels can never duplicate the mild, subtle hints of tobacco provided in my Lucky Strike. Lucky Strike is made only using the finest tobacco leaves. Made by dedicated organic tobacco farmers. Some cigarettes taste better than others. I'm sure they do, but it's not why you want them. You want them because you need your nicotine fix. Because you're fucking addicted. Shermans were fairly nice back when I smoked. What is the nastiest cigarette brand? Would it be like one of the unfiltered ones, like American Spirits? I've often heard, like, when people say they smoke American Spirits, people are like, oh god. I think American Spirits is the brand that I've heard the most for people to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Among the major brands. Aren't Camels also unfiltered? American Spirits just burn longer. Sucking on that electric battery in public is a humiliation ritual. Back in the day in Japan, because Japan is such a conservative country, they were taking forever to eradicate, like, public smoking, but now that I'm back in Japan, it seems like they've really cut out a lot of the public smoking at this point. I've only ran into, like, 1 or 2 guys who are walking around smoking. The thing about Japan is that, like, they take forever to change customs and shit, but when, like, society collectively decides we're not doing that anymore, everybody, like, has to just follow. So when they decide, like, you can't smoke in public, then everyone's like, okay, we're not smoking in public anymore, and then they just don't smoke in public, which is kind of where we're at right now. There's a few smoking areas at the train station, so you just have to sort of huddle in there with the other smokers. For real, I'm not addicted and never will be because smoking is only pleasant when it's 10 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Okay, stop assaulting me. I believe nicotine is probably... It's in like our top 3 of like most addictive substances among shit we allow people to consume legally, right? I think that's what I've heard. And sugar is up there as well, so... Humanity ain't doing great in the whole, you know, don't get addicted to shit Olympics. Nicotine, heroin, sugar. Yeah. I think you're right about it. Would you like some OxyContin with your cigarettes and donuts, sir? Smoking was healthier when the soap filters were asbestos. People always complain about asbestos because of all the cancer stuff, but it was a very good material at doing a lot of things. I don't know why they suddenly became so anti-asbestos. Oh, that's right, because it caused lung cancer, LMAO. My father was a hard-working asbestos salesman, and government regulations took away his livelihood. He died of a broken heart, also from lung cancer. I'm not sure what caused that. It's interesting how indoor smoking laws changed the entire trajectory of dubstep music, how it started as chill ambient music to annoying hype music to dissuade people from going outside to smoke. The music became no, stay inside, this is hype. Can't they just keep it chill and then people go outside to smoke and then they come back in after they smoke? Is that not a thing? Sugar's apparent addictiveness is probably offset by how much less immediately and visibly harmful it is. I don't know, man. Everybody in America weighs like 1,000 pounds. I'm not sure it isn't so immediate, visibly harmful. We just decided to ignore the whole fact that everybody is like overweight. I'm pretty sure it is pretty immediate. Sugar is probably the worst as it's so commonplace and can be started early with no visible effects. It's also pretty present in shit that doesn't even, like, taste sweet, right? Like, when we're getting refined carbohydrates, we get a shit ton of sugar. Sugar is part of normal life and it's very easy to get started on and early. Well, our normal life has been set up by the sugar company, so... America isn't even #1 in this category. If you're living in Mexico, like, Nestle literally owns your water supply and makes it so that the Coca-Cola is more expensive than the normal water, so... As bad as America's sugar situation is, it can be even worse. Oh, I'm addicted to oxygen. Oh. Go to Walmart, you'll see someone riding a fat scooter. Reminder that a lot of people in this chat are actually Europeans, so they don't get the full American experience. They don't know how incredibly, insanely fucking fat Americans can become. In fact, in the current day and age, we're not even at peak American fatness. It's actually gone down a little bit. It was peaking when I was like a kid, and we hadn't, like, we didn't have Michelle Obama being like, guys, please stand up and move, like, for 5 seconds a day. When I was a kid, it was just straight up, like, you would be walking down the street and, like, once a day you would see someone who was, like, so fucking insanely morbidly obese, you'd be like, holy shit, that guy's fat. But you stopped to even think how incredibly fat some of the people were because you were just, like, getting used to it. After a while, you'd just be like, oh, it's a normal body type. It was not a normal body type. Actually. I've seen people riding around those fat scooters in Disneyland when I went. Yes, Disneyland also probably has like the ability to attract more fat people. It's also located in Florida, where the degenerates of America congregate. Ozempic is kind of good. It might be kind of good. I'm waiting for the whole like all the GLP-1 drugs were a horrible mistake trend in medicine. My general motto for life is that if something is too good to be true, then it probably is too good to be true. It's not true. And when I'm getting like podcasts where we have doctors who are like, we have 10 years of evidence that GLP-1 drugs are good for literally every aspect of your health and everybody should be on them, I'm like, I'll give it another like 5 more years before we learn of like the disastrous side effects. Although they really have been around for quite a while now, so maybe they don't have disastrous side effects, but yeah. I'm not gonna believe shit where the doctor is just like, everybody should be using these drugs. They're so helpful for all types of, bodily issues. Just use the GLP-1 drug, guys. Nothing bad will happen. GLP-1s are awful to use. They make you constipated and sick, which is how you lose weight. Oh, they're a little more complex than that. I've looked into it, but yeah. There's people who have immediately bad side effects and can't use them, but I'm sure there's like some kind of like horrible side effects that happen over the long term that we haven't discovered yet. I'm not gonna believe that it's like some fucking miracle drug that allows American fat asses to lose weight and then everybody will be fine as long as they use this shit. Obviously I don't need it in the first place because, I have a proper diet and I exercise and stuff like that, but again, if something just sounds too good to be true, I ain't believing that. You can just not eat for a week and nothing happens. I mean, you'll feel pretty weak. You won't die as long as you have enough fat reserves. Once you're on them, you become reliant on them. Anything that reduces your weight, that also results in like you reducing your muscle mass and stuff like that, is probably gonna make you reliant on them, but I forgot the specific way the mechanics work. Some people lose sight of it because of Zempic, but imagine how thin they'll be when they can't find the cake in the refrigerator because they can't see. Yeah, risk of losing muscle quickly and getting insanely weak. You have to maintain insane macros. Yeah, anything that results in, like, rapid weight loss that also comes with, like, losing muscle mass, it can be problematic because then, like, if you stop that thing, then you don't have the muscle mass to, you know, maintain your body metabolism and shit. It's the same for dieting in general, even if it's just like normal dieting. You have that problem. So if you're doing it on a drug, I mean, the number one problem is the fact that you're now like attached to your insurance, your health insurance. You have to have your health insurance to pay for this shit. Like, that's no fun. I'm so glad I'm not paying for fat, unhealthy people's health insurance now that I'm in Japan. I'm just paying for the expensive-ass health insurance of old Japanese people, but at least most of them aren't, like, super diabetic. I'm outside jogging every day, and there's always, like, just like 10 other old guys jogging. Like, obviously it's just like a jogging course, so it's not that weird, but you know, people keep on, they're trying to stay active, you know, these old ass Japanese people. Give them credit for that. Ball seeing old people doing radio calisthenics. You have to wake up in the morning and go to the park to see the radio calisthenics. That shit is just basic stretching, though. The Japanese Radio Taiso. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there's this very specific, like, pre-war, World War II era Japanese radio calisthenic thing. You probably might have seen it in, like, your local anime, but you have to wake up and go to it, and they used to force kids to do this over summer vacation so they wouldn't be able to, like, enjoy their fucking summer vacation. It doesn't really offer much strength training, but it's, like, super... Everybody do it while you're watching. Dun 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 dun. Bum ba bum 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 ba bum bum. I saw this in Animal Crossing. Yeah, you probably absorbed it at some point from Japanese culture. It's that like it's everywhere, man. Middle-aged mom workout. They were literally forcing grown-ass men to do this during World War II. This was the intense bodybuilding that was powering the Japanese Imperial Army as they were, like, murdering civilians in the Philippines. So what you would do is you would go to the park at 6 a.m., you'd do this shit, and then you get, like, a fucking stamp. They'd stamp your card, and then you'd have to do this, like, every day during summer vacation and shit like that. Luckily, my school didn't force me to do it, but this is, like, a common-ass thing that they would force kids to do in, like, the Showa era. Yeah, they also have a chair version. You should all look up the chair version so you can exercise your fat asses while you're watching my stream. It was meant to keep Showa-era kids from getting sedentary and weak like the enemy. Yeah. They also were told to, like, scrub their skin with dry towels and stuff to get their blood flow. The Japanese army was extremely advanced, so they knew that as long as they had sharpened bamboo sticks and you could scrub your skin with dry towels and do calisthenics, you could defeat the American Empire. A child will do Kanpu Masatsu every morning, afternoon, and evening until they're entirely red and covered in rashes. You gotta get that blood flow. Dun. Oh! See, they have the chair-ass version right here. Kampo Seme. This is slightly faster. Stretch. Oh. I think this is incorrect right here. I haven't stretched in years. I recently read on like a New York Times article of like, we asked a trainer, what are the things you wish that people knew? And like one of the first things he said was, we don't know whether stretching is important or effective, but if you're going to do it, so already he's like shitting on stretching, but he was like, if you're going to do it, don't do it before you begin your exercise because it weakens the muscle. Do it before you go to sleep so your muscle will have time to recover. So basically, all the shit that we did in Japanese schools and schools in general, where they're like, oh, you're going to run? You got to stretch all your muscles first. It's like, no, there's like, don't do that. Do the opposite of that. You're actually like risking injury if you stretch before you go and, you know, do whatever exercise. So that was an interesting development. So if you're going to stretch, don't do it before your workout, is what he was saying. I knew it. It's fucking useless. It's not useless. How else am I going to have sex with my girlfriend in weird positions if she can't rotate her legs behind her head? The full Nelson sex position must happen. Stretching ain't building strength, but it definitely works. It definitely makes you more flexible. The question is, if there isn't necessarily like studies to show whether being more flexible is beneficial to you or not. I think it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, obviously you want to become like a sex gymnast or something, you need to be flexible, but people who stretch on regular can do shit with their bodies that seem alien. Yeah, whatever you do, don't go down the internet rabbit hole of, what do you call them? Contortionists. It fucks with your mind of what you think is like a normal body posture. Sex in the Olympics when? When I make the Olympics, I will have sex in the Olympics. Did you hear that the Olympians used up all of the condoms in the village in like one day? Apparently they undersupplied the number of condoms, but still it was like 10,000 condoms used in a day or something. from my hentais, I know how this works. They start off using the condom, and then they use like a few condoms, and then they have to tie the condom to the nipples. And then the faceless, tanned guys with blonde hair are like, we're out of condoms. Who cares? We'll come inside. And she's like, no. But this is the Olympics, so they're all probably too horny, so there's probably no phase. They're all like, yeah! If I get... Like, half of the women's periods have probably stopped from all the intense exercise they do anyways. I think there's only, like, a fraction of the females that are actually athletic enough to go to the Olympics that probably still have a functioning menstrual cycle. They probably all have, like, insane levels of testosterone, so... It's much more of an STD issue, I'm sure. Everyone put your penises away? No, I will not put my penis away. My penis stays out all the time. I didn't come this far to be told that I can't show my cock. I've heard of outbreaks happening in previous years. The world would be more fun if there weren't any STDs. Unfortunately, that is not the world we live in. We live in the world in which having sex, even with a condom sometimes, will get you life-lasting, annoying, or possibly fatal diseases. Whether it's gonorrhea or herpes. Don't look up syphilis photos, by the way. That's another thing you probably shouldn't be looking up. I should probably be trying to get syphilis just so I can become a successful painter. But I have to go to Paris and have sex with the Parisian whores in the year 1898. STDs are like bacterial roulette. Are we sure it's accurate to call it roulette when, like... I don't think you can hit the roulette 60% of the time or whatever we have for, like, herpes. The number of people with, like, various herpes viruses. Isn't it more than, like, 50% of the US population or something have, herpes? Let's ask ChatGPT. What percentage of the US population has herpes? Holy shit! It says 50 to 80% of American adults have oral herpes. What the fuck is that? Oh, it's commonly acquired during childhood. I guess this isn't the STD. This is something else. Genital herpes is 1 in 6. Guys, it's only 1 in 6 people, but it's probably more like, you know, closer to 50% if we're going by the type of people that you're actually going to encounter in these type of casual sex occasions, so... Lifelong infection. Once infected, the virus remains in the body for life. Cool, guys. You have this forever. You may have herpes. I guess if it's just oral herpes, it's not a big deal. Type 2 is the STD. Type 2 diabetes, type 2 herpes. Let's fucking go. Let's go! Isn't that what causes cold sores? Yes. When a woman is like, when she has something on her lip and she's like, it's just a cold sore, it means she has herpes. I think there was an entire South Park episode about this. Or was it Kenny? Didn't Kenny get a cold sore by performing cunnilingus on the lesbian substitute teacher or something? I can't remember the specifics. There was definitely a cold sore episode of South Park. It must suck to randomly have your crotch on fire. What about the people who have crabs? Imagine looking at your pubic hair and you can see the things moving around. Hold on, I need to look up an image of a genital crabs. Pubic lice. I don't know. They kind of look cool. They're much shorter than the head lice. Crabs are supposedly rare now. Yeah, I don't think they're a common problem. I mean, lice in general is rare. The great lice civilizations have been decimated by poison. Oh, the shape. I want just a very small amount of subtle shading on this white area to further accentuate the breast shape. But because I want it to be subtle, I keep on. It's just like, this is too much, this is too little. It's because shaving is way more common now. I must admit, I prefer it when there isn't as much pubic hair. I don't know. I was never particularly attracted to pubic hair or hair in general, which is why I would often shave my own head. But I was never a guy who's like, whoa, what was the infamous rock album cover where they just have like a woman's crotch and she's wearing a bikini, but you can see like the pubes coming out of the bikini? This is like super famous. I would never get going just because I saw that. Their natural habitat is being threatened. It's just like how we've lost like 70% of winged insects because everybody just shaves their lawn now instead of their pubes, and there's no place for the insects to live. "1980s Japanese porn must be terrifying to him, so much hair." Yeah. I don't think it's attractive, honestly. I want to get laser hair removal for my ass. I've complained about this many times, but I particularly don't like the fact that I have all these asshole hairs. It's just like an extra thing for my shit to get attached to. God, why did you have to put asshole hairs? When I've talked about this on this chat, people are like, no, they have a purpose. It's to prevent bugs from crawling up your asshole at night. And I'm like, come on, man. Do we really need asshole hairs for that? They're like, yes, it's important. My uncle died when a scorpion crawled up his butthole at night. You must not take these things lightly. It's very dangerous. BB, please get a bidet. The current apartment I live in has a bidet, so I use that. Also, I shower after I shit usually, so... I'm just saying it's nice. It would be nice if I didn't have poop getting attached to my hairs. It just seems like evolutionarily it is a bad setup. We could probably do better than having hairs attached to our asshole. I don't trust godless heathens with no bidet. Like, even the public restrooms in Japan at this point have bidets. It's very common. The other day when I had to take my computer to Kobe to get it fixed, and I was in Kobe the entire time, I had to shit in a public restroom because I shit once per day around noon, so I couldn't avoid shitting in public. Not my favorite thing to do, but I went to a public restroom at the station and I took a shit there, and it had a bidet, so that's Japan for you. We're living in civilized society up here in the Asia area. Everybody gets the bidet. You get a bidet. Does the apartment have the typical bathroom where the whole room is a shower with a self-heating soaking tub? Yeah. It has like the combined shower bath set up. I don't know what you would consider to be a typical one. And then like the toilet is separate so you don't have to smell your shit when you're showering and stuff like that. BB at a waxing salon? I ain't going to a waxing salon. I'll just grab my own asshole and yank the hairs out by hand. Surely it will not be that painful. My dream is to have Japanese-style bathroom. I mean, I guess they're okay. I'm being forced to take long baths right now because the hemorrhoid treatment doctor was like, "Do you take baths?" And I was like, "No." He was like, "You should take baths." So I was like, "Fine, okay. I'm doing hemorrhoid treatment now. I'll take baths." But I'm a shower guy. I've always been a shower guy. I prefer to just take showers, but now I have to sit in the hot bath for like 10 minutes every day. And man, I just start to sweat like crazy when I'm in the bath. So I have to take another shower after I get out of the bath. It fucking sucks. I hate being hot. But they're like, no, it's good for the hemorrhoids, you should do it. So I'm like, fine. We'll do it. You a shower guy, my man? I don't like sitting in my own filth, which is kind of what you end up doing if you are in a bath. It just seems like a bad setup. I just don't like being hot, and I don't like having to spend like 10 minutes to get my body temperature up. But a lot of the health YouTubers, I say, are like, to get better sleep, you should take a bath like an hour to an hour and a half before you're about to go to sleep. So I've been trying that recently as well, and it does affect your sleep quite a bit. It is easier to sleep if you do that, but I still don't want to do it if I had a choice. I ain't into it. Play video games and watch porn in the bath? I mean, I don't want to ruin my poor Nintendo Switch or whatever, so that ain't happening. I do have my cell phone in the bath, but not actually in the bath. I have it in the bath area, and then I play podcasts so that the 10 minutes don't seem too long, but I don't really enjoy soaking. Not my favorite activity. BB never got to go to open air onsen and peek on his female classmates, so now he hates baths. You can hear the girls on the other side of that bamboo wall, and they're all like, Kya, Mikako-chan, your boobs are so big. I wish I had big boobs like you. And I am, of course, on the men's side and being like, what are they talking about? And my nose starts to bleed from the sexual tension. And then my silly comedy relief friend is like, hey, Ball, let's check the other side and peek on the girls. And I'm like, no, that's wrong. We shouldn't do that. That's sexual assault. And he's like, no, it's fine. And then somehow the wall fucking collapsed in between us. And the girls are like, Kya, you peeping toms. And in a hilarious scene of violence, they beat us up. And there's nothing we can do about it because we know we deserve the beating. And this entire experience will bond our group together even stronger. The girls will not be upset about us after they've beaten us up because they know it's all good fun. And later they will be having private discussions among themselves about their romantic feelings they secretly hold for me. Doki Doki. One of them will have a giant wooden mallet for some reason. They have extra dimensional storage that they can pull the mallet out of. Peeping at baths, stealing panties, the late 90s, early aughts were something else. If I don't peep in the bath and steal the girls' panties, who will? Some people have to uphold the traditions of our great country. By the way, I did go to the onsen. There's a local onsen within like 5 minutes of the apartment, so I checked it out. It was like insanely crowded with old people. Because of course it was, because it's Japan. So yeah, I'm never going back to that. There was not, in fact, cute classmates talking on the other side of the wall about how each girl's skin was so soft or their boobs were so big. It was just an endless sea of old-ass motherfuckers. Or as we like to call it, hell. It was an actual hell on earth. So yeah, we ain't doing that shit. I don't think I actually want these lines right here. Every bath experience I had was a lot of old people. Yep. The old people fucking love onsen and sento in Japan. The young people, not so much. It's when you get old and all of your joints fucking hurt is when they go into the hot springs to try and, use that to fix shit. I don't think it actually works, but whatever. You can never convince the Japanese that their solution for everything, getting in the hot spring, is actually not exactly effective. Ice cream after bath? Yeah, I guess. Seiko and Shizuka Basans comparing their moles and skin tags. I didn't see the Basan version, but I definitely saw the G-san version. The thing is, once you get above a certain age group, it's basically the same. You basically have the same body, whether you're a male or female. You just have like a giant mass of failing joints and dangling skin. The difference between male and female becomes negligible as you get older. Did you grow up in Japan where you attend Japanese school? Yeah. I went back and forth between America and Japan. Kind of like the red background. It might be too much, but it might not be. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided. It feels a little empty when it's fully white, but I wasn't really planning to add color. I do this every once in a while in which I draw it in black and white and I'm like, maybe it needs a little bit of color, and then I just make the background have color. And perhaps her eyes as well. I don't know if I'm gonna do it though. Reminds you of Persona. Everything reminds you fuckers about Persona. That's why you're always talking about peeking on the girls on the other side of the bathhouse wall. Literal Persona shit right there. The white and red contrast is really painful to the eyes, though. It's really intense. We can always just decrease the saturation. Tough to desaturate without making it look pink. Instead of desaturating, instead of making it just decreasing the how clear it was, the opacity, we'll just convert layer, selection from layer, create selection, select, convert to selection layer, turn it off, select, convert selection layer to selection. We'll just use a bunch of other colors to see if it looks good with a more crimson, darker hue. I just don't think this is built for color, honestly. I think we're just gonna keep it in black and white. And possibly fiddle with her eyes. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Might be a little too dark though. Baal is too good at drawing faces of contempt. I redrew her face like several times because I really wanted to get the sense of like disgust at looking at the disgusting body of the viewer correct. I might fiddle with her left eye a little bit more because they're not the right size and they don't necessarily have to be like the same size, but maybe I'll just make it slightly larger right now. A master of disdainful women and Tom of Finland bodies. The combination of incredibly muscular and powerful man getting stepped on by disdainful women is extremely aesthetic and beautiful. It has the strengths of both genders perfectly encapsulated. The physical strength of the male body and the emotional strength of spiteful females. The female is most beautiful when she is scorned and angry. Metal Gear Solid 4 coming to PC was a shocker. It is. I didn't know that was happening. I thought it was going to be stuck on PS3 for eternity, so it's good that it's finally coming to a real system at some point. It's not that great a game, though. I think it's one of Kojima's worst games, honestly. I'm sure there's some MGS4 defenders in chat, but it kind of takes the whole like movie setup and makes it a little too long-winded, if you ask me. I also don't like how it keeps on switching locations all the time. I think one of the good parts of the classic MGS games was that they're all like one location and it's like one mission. The original Metal Gear Solid and Snake Eater especially are like some of the best, like we're all gonna do this in like one day. This is a single mission kind of games out there. So the way in which Metal Gear Solid 4 kind of jumps around between different locations and different dates and times and stuff like that, it kind of dilutes the whole experience a little bit. Kojima has a problem. I think he needs a Tard Wrangler just like George. At least Kojima finished his story arc of Snake with Metal Gear Solid 4, something that George has definitely not finished with Game of Thrones. Although I guess if you're like, no, we need to learn how Big Boss turns into the demonic figure and creates Zanzibar land or whatever, Metal Gear Solid 5 is incomplete. If that's how you feel, then I guess there's nothing I can say to you. But when I heard that he had pussied out of actually telling the story of Big Boss, or maybe Konami didn't let him, I'm not sure, I lost all interest in Metal Gear Solid 5. Like, the whole point was we were going to learn the process in which, like, your protagonist of Metal Gear Solid 3 had become the antagonist of Metal Gear 1. But instead, we just got, like, somebody getting Korean plastic surgery and hypnotizing himself to think he was Big Boss or whatever. When I heard that spoiler, I was just like, okay, I'm out of this thing. I am playing it. I think he meant George Lucas. I guess George R.R. Martin doesn't require a Tard Wrangler. He needs an editor to force him to write something. I can't believe he's still alive, honestly, if you look at his body type. I found Metal Gear Solid 5's looming vibe of uncertainty and false reality pretty kino and spooky. I'm just not interested anymore, I guess, at this point. Metal Gear Solid 3 is such a good game, I honestly don't need any more. That's kind of the problem with making something that's like complete as a storyline, is that you don't actually need to add any extra content to it. It's already a complete video game, and Big Boss's story ending there is kind of, it's good enough for me. George Lucas really should have never sold off Star Wars. What a massive rape of a series. You know it's bad when even he regrets doing it. We often talk about how incompetent Kathleen Kennedy was at managing Star Wars, but even then I think it's still not talked about enough. She literally took the most valuable IP on the planet that could print money endlessly, and she took it and made it something that even the most hardcore fans of this IP were just like, they just had no more interest. They didn't even hate it anymore. They were just like, they had given up. And she did that within the course of 5 years or something. 5 to 10 years, basically. This was a franchise in which you were able to convince people to camp outside the fucking movie theater for like 6 months when episode 1 was about to come out. And if you ask the same kid who was camping out in front of the movie theater for episode 1 what they felt about Star Wars franchise in like 2025, they wouldn't have been like, oh, I'm so angry, oh, she fucked everything up. Instead, they would just be like, whatever. People just didn't want to engage anymore. It's crazy. It's not something you can pull off that easily, but she did it. People are just like, I don't care anymore. Whatever. He regrets believing Disney would accept his sequel trilogy scripts. Yeah. Meanwhile, James Cameron, base Giga Chad James Cameron, gives zero fucks about his family. Instead, he spends all of his time digging up deep sea ocean exploration Titanic crap and then making massive blockbuster billionaire hits. The Virgin George Lucas versus the Chad James Cameron. It's pretty funny, honestly. James Cameron spends decades studying myths just to give us blockbusters with straight-to-DVD ass scripts, but the computer graphics look so good, guys. Me and all my fellow Avatar fans can't wait for Avatar 4, 5, and 6. Speaking of billionaires, anyone want to help me make a submersible piloted by an SNES controller? If James Cameron was on that submersible, none of that would have happened. He would have brought them back home safely. He's an expert when it comes to deep sea exploration. It's not really the controller that's the problem. We use controllers for a lot of weird ass shit. It's memed on quite a bit, but I mean, we're using our Xbox controllers to pilot drones that in like the Ukrainian war and stuff, so it was the whole, you know, I know that the industry standard is to make this submersible out of this material, but we can make it. I'm a billionaire, and I bet we can push the envelope and make it much cheaper by using this other material. Surely this will not collapse under pressure. It was that part that might have been the problem. Unlike the AI-driven stock market, deep sea ocean water pressure does not give a fuck about how much money you own. It was a great moment of fucking around and finding out, Billionaire Edition. I loved how so many people had to pretend like, much like the Luigi Mangione assassination, all these people had to pretend like they weren't feeling an immense amount of glee in the process of billionaires killing themselves. Everybody was like, oh, my hearts and prayers go out to the billionaire and all the other billionaires' friends on this submersible. I am not a bad person. Look how much I care. Also, let's continue to cover this as everybody laughs and points and laughs. We definitely care about the people being killed in this thing instead of everybody being happy because we hate rich people at this point. No one actually cared. I mean, no one actually cares about anything. Well, not anything, but anything that happens in the news. Nobody cares about, what's her name? Something Guthrie? Who is this bitch? Don't ban me, Twitch. This is, the mother of a TV show host. This is like our national obsession right now. As soon as we get some kind of murder that involves a white person, everybody has to stop and be like, wait, a white person has possibly died. Ignore all the other murders that happen to other people. It's white person crime time. All the real crime podcast sleuths out there, it's time to go into overdrive. Nancy Guthrie, I thought she was related to the country singers. She's like the mother of, like the Good Morning America host or something like that. I don't know. I listen to a lot of podcasts because I need some shit to listen to, but like, I listen to a news podcast and they're like, this is important because it really makes you think about how it could happen to any of us. And I'm like, does it? Do I watch too much true crime? Because I live under the assumption that at any point in America, somebody can just walk up to you and shoot you for like no reason at all, because it's that kind of a country. Am I watching too much true crime content, guys? If that's like my assumption. How can you live with any sense of like security or safety when you're in America? When like you can get into a fender bender and somebody might have a gun in their glove box and just cap you at any point. The real missing person case I want to investigate is in Zorro Ranch. What is that? Epstein related? Or is it... I can't remember. Was that the Epstein Ranch or was it a different ranch? Epstein's Ranch? I don't know. I'd rather go to the island. Sold to another billionaire who closed off the property. I wonder what caused him to close it off. Maybe he was like, there's too many child-sized massage tables. It is private property now.
Did any part of you choose this book due to El Rey's being reminiscent of Epstein Island? No, Epstein Island, if you've been, is totally different than El Rey. Not as many people, way more of a female to male ratio on Epstein Island. Not a lot of ex-presidents in El Rey. There's a smell of Epstein Island where it's like you land, you know you're there. There's certain cities like Miami, New Orleans, New York, Epstein Island, where you get there and you know, like, I'm here, you can relax. And Epstein Island, you get to leave. El Rey, you never get to leave. And there's not as much cannibalism as you would think in a place like Epstein Island. Did any part of you choose this?
That was Anthony Jeselnik right there. There's a smell of Epstein Island. You know you can relax. Isn't that ranch near one of Trump's businesses? We need more cannibalism-related content, I feel. I feel like cannibalism is a underused concept in our current media landscape, fiction and stuff like that. I was reading a manga yesterday, and it's called Cannibal Family. I don't know if they're translating it. But it's a story about a cute Japanese high school girl who has normal Japanese high school girl problems, except there's one thing different about her, and it's that her family eats human flesh. Her father regularly goes out and he murders people and brings their bodies back to be eaten, but he only murders bad people, so it's okay. And the main character understands that her family's a little bit weird, and she might not have a normal setup, but she herself can't stop eating human flesh because it tastes so good. and like she'll have episodes in which her mom gives her an obento, and there's like a full-size deep-fried human hand inside her bento. It's drawn in this very cute style, which makes it all the more impactful. Just a really great concept for a manga. Doesn't look like it's translated. It's a pretty new manga right now. Let's see. I forgot which one of these online ones they're showing it on. The author has a very specific drawing style that you might have seen before, but he's famous for being able to draw really cute girls in a weird way. What was it? Anyway, I would recommend it when it does get translated. Oh! All right. Now we add random dust. Let's make the particles larger. Nihongo, how's your Japanese lessons coming around, boys? Are you practicing your kanji? Kanji will forever be my greatest source of torment. I'm truly privileged. You just need to keep on practicing, and you will eventually be able to memorize the 10,000 different kanji you need to be able to read to function on a daily basis in Japanese society. Haha, just kidding. It's impossible. Also, your reading and writing parts of your brain are separate. I will know because I read Japanese on a daily basis, so I can read kanji just fine. But then, if I actually try and write kanji with hand, I can't do it for shit. I can't even write at like an elementary school level at this point if we're doing like handwriting kanji, but I can of course do it perfectly fine if I'm like typing shit, because like I can identify which kanji is what, so I don't make mistakes in terms of like I'm using the wrong kanji or the wrong word. But like the writing kanji by hand part of your memory is like stored in your muscle memory area. So if you don't actually write kanji with hand, which most people don't at this point, you will just completely forget how to write it. Your hand will forget how to write it. It's very annoying. Well, there's nothing you can do about it if you've been living in America for like the last, 30 years. So Grok, kanjify my writing. That's another thing. AI kind of sucks in Japanese. It's not that bad. It's gotten better, but you can tell that there's just way more English shit to train on shit on in the internet than there is Japanese stuff, so... You can really feel the, that it's stronger in English generally than Japanese. I still haven't figured out which pen I want to use for my shading. I guess it's different on a case by case, but I don't really have a consistent favorite one yet. Writing a love letter in ballpoint pen, but for the kanji you put out a thick brush that dominates 70% of the writing space. What is this? A girl from the 60s or something? Are we in the shoujo manga zone? I missed Valentine's Day. Another year in which I was in Japan and should have received La Budeta from my kohai, who's like, Senpai, please notice me. But it never happened, sadly. Actually, it did happen. That's the fucked up part. I actually received a rose. I've told this when I was in high school from some unknown Japanese girl, and my mother was like, you have to go find her. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you talking about, Mom? She didn't sign her letter, her rose. How the fuck am I supposed to find her if she didn't sign her name? Are you fucking stupid, Mom? What are you talking about? Somehow I'm still single, even at 39. I don't understand how that happened. Ball ever get obligation chocolate? No, they don't actually give out obligation chocolate in high school. I wasn't employed at a company or whatever in which there would be some sort of obligation chocolate. Only non-obligation romantic roses given to me. That's it. You could have had 3 children in school age by now? Theoretically, yes. I'm someone who generally just goes with the flow unless there's something that they don't really like. Or more like, I'm someone that will convince themselves they have to do something they don't like and continue to do it for a very long period of time. I was on the swim team for like 8 to 10 years. I can't remember how long, but that was just because like I had convinced myself that I had to like maintain my health by doing exercise, and this was as good as anything. But I never enjoyed swimming, so if I can do something for 8 to 10 years that I don't particularly enjoy, I'm pretty sure I could have been married and have kids by now with someone I don't particularly like if they were aggressive enough. If we lived in a society in which female courtship, where the women initiated courtship, that was like their normal mode of operandum, I probably would have like a bunch of kids now. All it takes is for a woman to be like, you need to have a girlfriend to be a socially acceptable person, and I'm it. I'd be like, okay. Seems about right. And then all she would need to do was to leg lock me so I couldn't avoid coming inside. And then I would have a bunch of kids by now. Eight to 10 of involuntary raw dogging. Such is the case. I took a chocolate making class and all I used for it was to make rat-shaped chocolates for a Halloween party. Feels good. Here, I found a photo of Hystrixia online. Let me post it. So I'm not sure which one of these women in this photo is Hystrixia, but I'm pretty sure she's one of them. Remember the 90s and early 2000s, guys? It was a special time. Baal never found his Zaibatsu heiress childhood friend. I did go to elementary school with a kid who was Zaibatsu heir, not heiress, literally. He was named Sagawa. Sagawa Takyu. Sagawa Express. One of Japan's major delivery services. Logistic company. So he was named Sagawa, and I didn't put one and one together, but he was literally like the heir of Japan's like second largest transportation company. You couldn't tell though. It turns out that the Japanese anime in which the drill-haired Ojo-sama comes to your school and she's like, oh ho ho, in a limousine. Well, in real life, they don't come to school in a limousine, but the part in which, like, the, massive Zaibatsu kid is showing up in school alongside commoners is actually true, I guess. He was just going to school like a normal person. We never really knew that. Maybe he had a sister lip bite. Are we really gonna have to lust after Zaibatsu Ojo-sama when we can't even get our hands on a normal female? It seems like we're reaching a bit here. This is like a situation in which local beggar, instead of asking for like $5, is like, hey buddy, can you spare just a little bit of NVIDIA stock, sir? I'm starving here. All I need is a few stock options in NVIDIA. Just a few Bitcoin, sir. I would like to buy a sandwich and perhaps a cigarette. If I could just have a few measly Bitcoins. I don't give a shit about Valentine's Day unless it's the old-fashioned pagan version. Thank God it's illegal to perform human sacrifices in the modern world, because I would be terrified to be around you if the Aztec priest was like, yes, we must perform the ritual. Valentine's great for candy. I like how at least in Valentine in Japan, they have a setup system in which the females have to approach the men. There's not enough like female-based courtship mechanisms in modern society. Everything is reliant on the man getting shit done, but I feel like we should have at least one occasion in which the females have to make the first move. You mean White Day? You're getting the orders wrong. In Japan, Valentine's Day is where the female does it, and then White Day is where the female gives. Once the female gives you chocolate, you have to give her shit back on White Day. And then women being greedy bitches, as they tend to be, there are some Japanese women who are trying to push the tradition in which if they gave you something on Valentine's Day, you're supposed to give them 3 times the value of the thing that you gave back. They were just like, you have to give us that. And I was like, why? Of course I didn't give, anything back to anybody on White Day because I haven't received any chocolate, but it's just like the females who wanted monetary shit in the 90s or the 2000s would be like, look, I gave you chocolate, you silly man. Now you must give me jewelry on White Day. I don't know if this actually worked as a psyop. How do gay relationships get traditionally started in Japan? I don't know. Unlike you people, I'm not gay, so... Also, even if I was gay, I wouldn't know how to start a relationship, considering I don't know how to start any kind of relationship heterosexually, so... It's pretty rich to think I know how to start a gay relationship. That shit is beyond me. I don't have the ability. Oh.
In the beginning, you think everyone's going to make it.
Yeah.
Like, we're all on our way up. We have our different paths. But then you start to realize there's, like, a couple of people, a couple of gems. And
Yeah,
you're one of
that's
those guys for me that I was like, this guy is going to go as far as he wants to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still surprised that you've gotten to this level.
Yeah.
For sure. But,
sure. Me
but
too.
I knew,
Me too.
I knew you were, like, not a crazy person.
You know, there's one guy, I don't remember his name. He had, like, a really funny, like, aggressive rant style. I would see him again. I'd be like, oh, this dude, he's pretty funny. And then, like, on the third show, he was, like, he was drinking, like, this much whiskey before he went up. And I was like, what's going on? He was, that's how I do it, man. And I was like, oh, this dude's out of his mind.
Oh, I thought people were going to be stars until I, like, got a ride in their car. And you're like, no, man, you're not going to make it anywhere. Like, this is a disaster. In the beginning, you think...
I clicked on a YouTube short that said, you're not going to make it. I think that's a message that we don't tell people enough in our lives. Is like, kid, we don't all get to make it. You're not special. So much of motivational shit in the world is just like survivorship bias. Alcoholism. To be fair, that was another Anthony Jeselnik clip, so they're talking about the comedy scene. It's so over, I'm fucking washed. I mean, I guess the question is, if you don't make it in one industry, you can always make it in other industries, right? Ugh. But yeah, so much of our shit of like, people said I couldn't make it, but I did make it because I kept on trying. Shit is just based on listening to the people who did in fact make it, because nobody wants to watch the YouTube video of the guy who didn't make it. Just reinvent yourself over and over again. Like, I'm forgetting his guy's name. What was the New York City or New York councilman or congressperson who it turned out that he was like scamming his way across multiple continents? Well, it wasn't Santos. Was it George Santos? I can't remember. It ended with an S, right? And we found out that he was like scamming multiple people in different countries. He's just habitually lying about himself all the time. Bill Gates started at Microsoft at age 20, give up. The reason why Bill Gates was successful was because he was able to create a monopoly at an early stage because he had connections in the computer industry and forced other companies to use his software. It has nothing to do with his own abilities. George Santos now has a cameo. Long Island rep. Of course it's Long Island. I mean, a few weeks ago a video went viral. I followed my passion for art and now I'm 34 and unemployed. The thing is, you can still be 34 and unemployed even if you don't follow your passion for art, so I wouldn't worry too much about that part. The good thing about art is that you don't really need to make money off of it to follow your passion. If it is actually your passion, you have plenty of time to do it in your free time. You can even do it while you do other things like watch mindless YouTube videos or sports and stuff. That's how I got good at drawing. I didn't want to do anything during college, so I would just have baseball on in the rec room, and I would sort of half-assedly watch the baseball game with one eye and sketch with my other eye, so... He also pirated a lot of stuff early on. Are you talking about Kamikaze Short Bus? Oh, she has been showing up in my my recommendations. I watched one of her videos. She wouldn't be someone who hasn't made it because she properly got a job in video game studios. She did make it. She just was on the short side of the tech fire everybody phase we're in right now. That's not the same as not making it. That's just being employed by a company in modern American economy. To be someone that truly doesn't make it, you have to be like, you're so untalented at the thing, in this case art, that you don't get hired in the first place. Simply just do it for the love of the game. I do it for the love of the game. The idea of making it is a shallow understanding of life. Kind of. You could also not make it spectacularly to the point where you really question everything that you've grown to consider normal. I'm just out here enjoying drawing an orc in an Edwardian dress. I was just like, I want to draw a comic in which I dress the orc up. Edwardian dress is where it's at. Better than Victorian. He wants her there in those shoulder proofs. The thing is, orcs have huge muscular shoulders, but if you have these big shoulder proof fabric areas, you can hide how incredibly muscular and thick their arms are. Yes, Gibson Garu is what's going on right here. Do the proofs go up? I don't think they do. Oh, they do go up a little bit. They don't have any wiring on the inside, but they do have enough, like, tension in the fabric itself. that they kind of go up just a little bit around the shoulder. Yeah. Luckily there's a lot of references for this stuff. Yeah, but it's mostly, so her shoulder would be here. Hold on, I have to work on the blue line a little bit. The princess shoulders go up because they're just like they're set up that way, but have you had to draw any animals? Nobody really asked me to draw animals. I'm not part of the furry industrial complex, so it's like this. I can draw animals a little bit, but only a little bit. Ask him about horses. Horsecock. Are horsecocks the most aesthetic of penises? Like, we don't have porn of girls getting fucked by gigantic duck penises, for example. What about whale ones? I think we're kind of unfamiliar with whale cock because they're primarily in the ocean, so we don't get as much opportunity to look at it. Force and reference Pog. I'm glad you guys don't post links of horse cock in this chat. It's already too inappropriate. We don't need any force and incidents in here. A duck fucking a woman is weird. Ducks have the weirdest penises. Time to go down the duck penis rabbit hole. Flashbacks to Howard the Duck. I think Howard the Duck is the most concrete proof that George Lucas was a talentless hack, probably. But we forgive him because when he hit, he really hit hard. But yeah. Anyone who's seen Howard the Duck is like, oh shit, George Lucas thought he knew what he was doing, but he most certainly did not. Show them? I'm not going to show duck cocks on stream, guys. You're gonna have to look them up yourselves. Okay, we're talking about penis now. Sugo Evil. We avoided the whole penis discussion for a solid 2.5 hours, but it's too late. We've entered the penis discussion mode. So I have to... I'm going to make these sleeves nice and large, but they have to be large enough to cover the huge biceps of the orc female. So it's like this. The arms have to be really thick. Should go like this, this. You should check out the Penis Museum if you ever go to Reykjavik. Truly a phallic fever dream. I have not been to the Penis Museum, but I have been to the Parasite Museum in Meguro, Tokyo. They have like full-length 11-meter long tapeworms on display. It's crazy that you could have something that long just like hanging out in your stomach or your intestines. It also was a really good reminder of why Japanese should stop eating everything raw. But obviously it hasn't stopped Japanese from eating everything raw. They still eat everything raw, so, you know, it didn't do a great job on that, I guess. What's safe and what's not at Sushi Row? I mean, all the stuff at a chain sushi restaurant has already been frozen. Not just for safety reasons, but for, you know, shipping reasons. It's going to be way cheaper to just freeze everything. So, I think without a doubt, everything you eat at Sushi Row is going to be safe. As long as you freeze shit, the parasite dies in the process, so... It's when you're like, look at this delicious trout I just fished out of the local stream. This delicious freshwater fish. I will eat it as sashimi without worrying about anything. And that's how you end up with like 10,000 parasites in your body. In general, it's more dangerous to eat freshwater fish than ocean fish if you're going to eat it raw. But it's still pretty dangerous either way. People in Greece apparently really like dicks. Europeans in general, I think, spend a lot of time thinking about cocks. If you're a European, if you're an Italian, you wear your tight pants and you stuff your crotch area with your socks and stuff. Get yourself a nice thick bulge. I feel like the whole bulge fashion statement is sort of a lose-lose situation. In most cases, women aren't going to really care about how big your cock is. And even if there's one that does, if you actually successfully get her to bed, then she's going to be sorely disappointed if that's why she went home with you. Alright, guys. I'm going to end the stream here. See you around, boys. Have a nice night. Have a nice all-star weekend. Good night, guys. Good night.